All right. Yo!
What up, what up, what up?
What's up, my fellow loiterers? You are now currently listening to the co-host, Elias, and the man to my right. Introduce yourself.
Pepper here, guys, and you are in the parking lot.
100%. Quick thing. Little maintenance, little upkeep. Do you want me to call you that, or do you want me to call you Ant?
You call me whatever you want.
Okay, cool. I think we mentioned this in other episodes, but I know him as Ant. Pepper's a little bit new for me. It's a nickname he has. But, that's besides the point.
I really thought I did something wrong.
The
look on your face was like, you really
not.
just messed up, and I was like, oh gosh, what did I do?
No, sir. No, sir. All right, so today's episode, we are talking about... That's my imitation of a drum roll.
I do a drum roll, but I only got one hand.
Captain Marvel. We saw it on Friday night. God, it was a late showing.
Yes, we wound up going 10:40 on Friday, and it wound up... We were actually late. Like, we didn't sit down until 11 o'clock, and somehow we got lucky enough just to get there as commercials were still playing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't even start at 11 o'clock.
I have no idea how we pulled that. I was saying, who was behind me directly? I think Paul was behind me directly, another friend of ours. And I was telling him, I'm like, I don't know how we're getting blessed right now, but they're still doing trailers, so we gotta go.
We got lucky. We got real lucky.
I went up to Denzel, OG of In the Parking Lot. Hopefully you guys will meet him soon. I was telling him, like, listen, I love you guys, but we gotta move right now, because if we don't, we're gonna miss integral parts. And even said we got there in the beginning, but I don't remember like the first 30 seconds to a minute of the movie.
I kind of do, but I'm not 100% sure. So when we talk about it, beginning, it's not going to be exactly right because we were kind of fidgeting a little bit, but for the most part, it's there. And it's like us, and we were all getting worked up because we really thought we were going to miss it. It is literally... When you take anything like this, Marvel, any type of movies, we are like... This is like what happens like when you want to really eat and somebody's teasing you with food. Like, we were at the movies. We were all trying to figure out how to get in there before the movie started because we were already late. Like that, like I was like inside like burning up. I was like, no, I really don't want to miss any of this.
I remember at one point I just pulled up my ticket and be like, yeah, I'll see you guys in there. And I just gave it to the lady. She scanned it. She's like, oh, this theater. And I'm like, all right, cool. Peace. And then I walked over and I'm like, wow, there's trailers playing still. I think Shazam, the trailer for Shazam was still playing maybe.
Yeah. I think we did see that one. It wasn't new though. I think it was still.
No,
I think it was the
trailers.
same.
Yeah, it was the trailers that they put over TV and YouTube and all those fun things.
Yeah, so I think, and I think that was it. I think we got I think we saw one trailer and then boom, movie started.
Yeah, one trailer and then it was the two girls that were talking about a movie they were making, like an indie film.
Oh yeah.
I forget the name of it.
I forget too. I don't remember that one.
But that was like right before the movie started, so luckily we got lucky. And side note, it was RBX. I didn't know there was rumble seats involved when we initially bought the tickets. I know so I guess we'll jump right into it. The fighting. Okay, so there's bits and pieces that I'm missing. But
I hate to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
We are talking about Captain Marvel again. If you have not seen the movie and don't want any spoilers, I would wait to see the movie first because this is going to be full of spoilers. All right, just wanted to entail that.
Right, yeah.
Go.
Okay, spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, go see the fucking movie. 1. All right, so memory's a little bit hazy in the beginning because we were struggling with someone having a ticket and not having a ticket and seats and things like that. But maybe you could fill in the blanks. But what I personally remember is the fight that Brie Larson was having with Jude Law's character.
And that Jude Law's character was Jan Rogue.
Yeah.
That was his name, because I couldn't remember his name throughout the movie. But, beginning of the movie, you know how they do the Marvel sequence, and it's all the scenes from different movies, and they show
on,
each
like,
character.
The title card that, like, pulls up.
And then it turns into Marvel Studios, and then the 10 years. Well, what they did with this one, obviously, because of Stan Lee passing away...
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah. Instead of it being the superheroes and all the characters, it was all of Stan Lee's cameos in the movie
shit
that he's been up to so far.
So when we see it again, I'm going to be looking for that.
Yeah, and it was really cool. Like, even the movies that haven't been a part of the MCU, he's been in. He's had cameos in the Fox properties, the Fox movies, the Sony movies. He's been in all of them.
He's had a cameo in a DC film of sorts. He might have been mentioned, like,
I didn't know.
They might have mentioned him by name. I think, fact check me, I guess. But, yeah, I feel like that's a thing that happened.
I didn't know that. But he's been, it was, so the opening scene is just all of Stan Lee's cameos, and then you show bigger pictures, and they do a little montage of him, and I'm pretty sure they showed clips of him saying something. I can't remember what he said, though. And then at the end, it said, "Thank you, all right, rest in peace, Stan
I remember
Lee."
that part. That's the first thing I remember.
Honestly, it was the build-up, the tribute to him, awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I think they're going to do that for either the rest of the movies within this stage, or maybe go into the next stages with that.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of representation. Because obviously,
right.
That's Mr. Marvel himself kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, without him, none of this would be happening. So it's
yeah,
it was a really cool tribute, and I was happy to actually see that. Well, and then now it was that, and then going right into it, I'm pretty sure that she was having a dream sequence.
Okay.
And it was some flashbacks. Again, like, this is the part where I'm a little fuzzy with, like, the first 30 seconds to a minute. I don't really remember.
We're both a little fuzzy with it because, like we've been saying, there's a little bit of miscommunication within the group of people that went.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of the movie were pretty good, but it was just this one part.
Just the beginning.
She's having a dream, and she wakes up. It wakes her up out of her sleep, and then she goes to Jan Rogue's room and wakes him up, and he's a little upset because he wakes her up, or she wakes him up, I'm sorry. She wakes him up a little earlier than he intended to.
Right.
But she just wanted to train.
Yeah. So that'll fast forward into the next part that we remember as far as them fighting.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was pretty same back and forth. You saw the skill set was pretty similar. But I would say Jan Rogue, a.k.a. Jude Law's character, was maybe a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And also, he mentioned, like, to control her powers, don't let emotion get into it. And also, what was given can be taken away, so he wants to make sure her hand-to-hand is up to par, because she always relies on, her...
The photon blast.
That's what it's called, right?
Yeah,
it's a photon blast from her fist.
And when he says that... So, essentially, in the beginning, she wants to train, she wants to spar, and Jan Rogue wants to do hand-to-hand combat. Well, she was getting a little worked up because he was besting her slightly. Yeah. I'm not saying he was totally over the top, but he was besting her a little bit. So she was getting worked up, and you could see the hand starting to glow. And that's when he said, control it, what was given can be taken away. And then once they said that, they show a clip of the back of her neck, and there's this little circular metal piece, a piece of electronic that seemed like it cut the source of her power.
It looked like it was honestly, like, I'm thinking about it now, like, going back in my head, and maybe it's probably slightly different, but it looked a lot like an XLR mic input. I don't know if you're familiar with the way that looks, but it's basically a cylinder with prongs on the side, so it goes into the XLR jack is basically that, like, it's the one with a bunch of holes and stuff. The one she had on her neck looked like it was similar shaping. Honestly, that was the first thing I thought of, but there was more holes in it. Obviously, because then movie stuff is, you got to imagine it's a lot of different wires.
Especially because that's supposed to be Kree technology, and it's in the beginning showing us that he essentially has control over her.
Right, to an extent.
To an extent. With her powers, anyway.
Right.
So it shows that they're trying to monitor her and make sure she doesn't get out of control. Because at this point, it seems like she's fairly new with the powers and she's not used to them yet. So it's seeing all of that and going from there. But it's hopefully... or not hopefully. In the beginning, it's just showing how there is a little bit of a control base right there, because Jan Rogue is obviously the captain of that group, the Kree fighters, and I don't remember the name. I'm spacing on the name.
Let's do our Googles.
The power of technology.
So keep going. I'm going to look that up.
And then he's talking to her and, again, explaining to her how you got to control the powers and everything like that. So then they go back to hand-to-hand combat. Well, he winds up hitting her, and then she just lost control, photon blast, and then just blasted Jan Rogue to the other side of the room, and he hit the wall.
Definitely. It was definitely super cool. Or no, one of the gripes that we both kind of agreed on was CGI was a little spotty.
It was, and it wasn't, like, my whole thing, like, it wasn't horrible. Like, the spaceships, the fighting in space, and all that was pretty good. It was just some small details that were just, like, they usually are pretty spot on with.
Right.
And it was like, wow, like, I can't believe that actually got through. You know what I mean?
Right.
So before we get any farther, overall opinion. What'd you think of the movie overall?
So, I was talking about this recently with my friend over the phone last night, and also a little bit at work the day of, probably Saturday, I would say, so yesterday. As of recording this yesterday. And, you know, I went in with probably no expectations because it's hard to top such a grand stage of Infinity War. Because, you know, it was a lot of things happening. It was a lot of grandiose imagery and a lot of different story and stuff like that.
Yeah. Plus, it's going back because this movie takes place in 1995.
Right.
We figured out. So you're going from...
Was it 95 or was it
95.
96? It was 95?
Yeah, it was 95.
Because you did the math real quick when we were in the theater.
Yeah. So it was... the movie takes place in 95, and... it's, again, Captain Marvel, obviously, first time she's being introduced. It's an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I thought it was a good movie. I did like it.
Same.
In the conversation of best origin stories, best origin movies, me personally, I don't think it was the best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the worst, though.
Right.
Overall... good movie. It's set up.
It was probably a little better than middle of the road when it comes to an origin story.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this was. It's
right.
A relatively nameless character that not too many people know about unless they're within the culture, like how me and my co-host are, as far as reading the books and following the movies since the beginning. So, like, to the viewer out from the outside looking in, they probably didn't know really too much about the Kree or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that was just like, I think it was hard. I think they did a decent job, though, definitely.
Oh, yeah. And, again, you're also taking it from a different realm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's tough, like, it's one of the reasons, and I'll use Green Lantern as an example, the one with Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Again, I thought it was an okay movie. I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was the best. But the space aspect is very tough to get people on. Especially, like you were saying, the ones that aren't into this kind of stuff, that aren't the hardcore fans.
Right.
It's really tough to get that, because, I mean, as of right now, we don't know if there is anything out there or not, so the fact that it's all based on what we're coming up with as people with ideas and imagination. It's all imaginative. Right. So it's tough to get some people on that space realm. So, again, you're also facing that problem with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with intergalactic aliens, different, way advanced technology that we're not even close to.
Right.
It's all that kind of stuff, so it does make it a little harder, which is why I'm also surprised Guardians of the Galaxy did so well.
Right.
Only because of that aspect.
Yeah.
Because those movies were really good.
Right.
But it's just the space part that's what gets some people.
Yeah. And I think, as far as the scheme of characters, I would argue just MCU, so not Fox, not Sony, just MCU movies.
Yeah, just the Disney
I
realm.
would say top tier that everyone knows about is like Iron Man. Yeah, after that, very closely, is probably like Thor and Hulk are probably neck and neck. Captain America and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got like the original 5.
Yeah, the original Avengers, as far as the MCU is concerned. I would say that's the most known between all of the movies that they've done.
Yeah.
You know, I knew, like, just sidetracking a bit, and, you know, I'm going to try to steer it back and make this short and sweet, but for all who don't know, I'm a minority. So one of the things that I did as a child was when I was looking at certain things like comic books, TV shows, cartoons, things like that, I would really kind of move towards the minority characters. So
Right.
when I found about them doing a Black Panther movie, the outside of the climate of the world that it was going to happen in,
Yeah.
and all the things that came with that, I already knew about him. Like I wasn't super knowledgeable, like how I would argue I am.
But you
now.
read up on him. You knew who he was.
But I read up. I knew who he was and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So that was easier. And then obviously you read comic books as well, so that was easier for you too. But I would say he's kind of in that group of, somewhat nameless individuals that have MCU movies. Sorry for the long title, but the list is also probably just as long.
Yeah.
I would say, Guardians is in that list. Captain Marvel's in that list. Black Panther's in that list.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one a little. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, this is a back and forth, and you don't have to.
Because
you don't have to agree about things.
No. And I agree with what you're saying. Trust me, I'm not taking any of that away. I agree 100%. But I would say out of all of them, I would probably put Black Panther as the most known out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was first introduced with Fantastic Four.
Right.
Which is an issue I would definitely love to buy, but every time I see it, it's like 800 plus. The original anyway.
The original for New Mutants 98, I believe is the number, is the first appearance of Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
As an X-Force book. Holy shit, that thing is expensive. Because I've seen people pick it up like somewhat raw and a little beat up, but the passion they have for the character overweighed that. But all I see is like damn near mint, pristine copies of this fucking book, and I'm just like, I cannot drop $300 on just a singular comic book right now.
It's crazy, but
I
would love to get into that because and that's why I would like to really get it, because I would like to see how they did it, how that issue went.
Right.
I don't know. I've never read it. I've never even read one of the reprints. So
right. So speaking of reprints, the Marvel, I don't know how far back they go, but as of recently, they do a True Believers release, which is a reprint word for word of what happened back in the day that aren't worth shit. I think I got the one I had for free.
Yeah.
But it might have been New Mutants 98, so you could read like how they did it and stuff like that.
Okay. That'd be pretty cool.
It's probably going to be, if anything, $5, like normal cover price for a book.
Bad.
If not, it might be cheaper than that, like $1 or whatever.
Right.
But let's steer back to Captain Marvel.
We definitely went
on a tangent, but
yeah. So where we left off, obviously, very beginning.
Real quick though, I found out the name
of
the group, and I'm going to punch myself later about it because it's on their fucking chest. Excuse my language. They're called the Star Force.
Goodbye. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. I'm here.
I know.
The
star's on their chest, dude, and I'm just like, we couldn't think of a thing. I read it, and I was about to be like, are you freaking serious? And when you were talking, so I'm like, I don't want to interrupt because we were on a bit of a tangent that we like to do.
So, all right. So, Jan Rogue, Jude Law's character, Star Force.
Mm-hmm.
That's the group that they're in, as well as Captain Marvel. Which they call her, in the beginning, they call her...
Her Kree name is Virus.
Her Kree name is Virus, and we'll explain why it is that towards the end, because you don't really find that out until the end of the movie. But, right after the fight, the sparring match, and Captain Marvel uses her photon blast and blasts Jan Rogue, you see them all waiting for Jan Rogue. The entire Star Force, which, if I'm not mistaken... There are 6 of them.
So I'm pulling up the cast of Captain Marvel right now. Shout out IMDb again. Hey, sponsor us. Why not? So obviously it's Jude Law. It's
Jan Rogue.
It's Jan Rogue. It's Rune Tempty, which is the dude I think you know, Bron Char with the beard.
Yeah, he was in I noticed him. I remember him because I just watched The Last Kingdom on Netflix, and he was in that. He was one of the Viking. He was one of the they call him Ragnarok.
Right.
Not Ragnarok.
Rune. Let's just call him Rune.
Yeah,
that's
we'll call
his
him
name.
Rune. Yeah.
I have the list in front of me. His name is like
Yeah.
Rune, crazy alien last name.
Yeah.
And then it was Gemma Chan, which was Minerva.
That was Dr. Minerva.
Yeah, there's a chick with like the blue face.
Yeah, she was the sniper.
And the sniper rifle. Then it was, hopefully I'm not butchering this man's name, but Algenis Perez Soto as Atlas. I just noticed it's Atlas. Like, okay. Then it was, and another name I'm going to completely destroy. This is the gentleman that was sent by Ronan the Accuser and Guardians as a side note.
Yeah.
I'm not going to butcher this man's name because people butcher my name all the time, and I want to put some respect on his name.
Yeah.
So his character's name was Korath.
Korath,
So I'm just going to keep it at that.
Yeah, he was the one in the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy that was going after Peter Quill when he got the power.
So I think, what's that, 5 of them?
Yeah, plus Captain Marvel. So that makes 6.
So 6.
Right?
I think 6, maybe 7.
6, maybe 7. All right, so they're in the 6, 7 of them are in the quarters waiting for Jan Rogue, and they're all talking, and I think they're all messing with Korath, saying he doesn't smile or anything, or he doesn't laugh, and then he goes, "Yes, I laugh, but on the inside."
But on the inside.
And they say beauty. They said, "Well, your beauty must be on the inside too," or something like that. Like they all start busting on him.
Brie Larson said that, and then one of the dudes was like, "For all intents and purposes, you are a beautiful man." So it was just kind of funny.
It was a little funny.
Yeah.
Little tidbit, but
just to add to that, and I don't mean to cut you off. I thought the humor in it wasn't too much.
Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad.
But it wasn't like serious. Little shimmer of humor. Serious.
Yeah.
I think they did a decent job of
balancing
juggling both
that.
and bouncing from one to the other.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because that was one of my problems with Guardians 2.
There are a lot of jokes in that.
Well, because you saw the success of the first one.
Right.
And then you saw the second one, and it was like they tried to do the exact same thing. But it's like when you get something perfect, not perfect, but when you get it just near there, and you want to continue it, you want to duplicate it, you try to do it the exact same way. But the problem is when you do that, most of the time it doesn't come out the exact same way.
Right.
So I think they tried a little too hard with the comedy. And then, of course, you get some people saying it because they try to... It's Disney. Yeah. So you have to expand to every viewing audience, which I understand completely.
Gotta make sure the mouse is happy.
Right. It's just, I do agree. I like how they balanced the comedy and the seriousness in this movie. I didn't think it was too bad.
Side note, luckily my employer shall not be named. With said employer, I get discounts to go to Disney World.
That's crazy.
In Disneyland. And it's like, and this is another tangent. No one probably really knows what we're talking about, but I saw it. So me and 3 of my friends from high school really want to go to Disney World because my friend missed it senior trip, and we all want to go. Kind of like a wedding gift to them when they eventually get married.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was like, for the 4 of us, for the tickets to go to each park, like flexible, like I can go to this park one day, and this park the other day, then go back to the one.
Yeah, it's like a hopper pass or something.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was like $1,400.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I looked up the rooms, like because we want to stay at a resort because it would be easier.
Yeah, it's gonna make it worse.
It was like $900 a night at the River House or something like that.
Yeah.
Port Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that one was like, it's like middle tier. It's not as shitty as the All-Star Resort.
Yeah.
But it's also not as exclusive as like the Animal Kingdom one, which is like,
I've been at that one.
You look out, it's like woods and beautiful scenery around you.
I rememre one time I woke up and saw a giraffe.
Yeah.
Like
that's nuts.
That's how it is.
Super nuts.
It's crazy.
All right, enough of this.
Yeah, because
blase blah bull crap.
Captain Marvel.
We're reeling it back in.
Yeah, and then essentially what happens? So again, they're all waiting in the quarters for Jan Rogue, and he comes in, and they're waiting for a mission.
Right.
The mission that they get is a rescue mission. I don't remember the name of the Kree spy.
We'll just call him Kree spy.
Kree spy.
I don't remember the name of him either.
I can't remember. So they're on a planet and he was taken captive.
Right.
So the whole point again is a rescue mission. Right? Yeah. Air quotes.
Air quotes captive, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Little nugget, like I was talking about in the last episode. Take that little nugget, keep it in your pocket,
Keep it in your pocket.
pull it out when we get there.
Yeah. And they also said that there are neutral people.
Yeah, for whatever planet they went to.
Yeah. And they're just the people,
The civilians, that
live
race
there.
of people that live in that.
Yeah, it's an
said
alien
area.
race that
Yeah.
lives there. They said it in the beginning. They tried to do it without any casualties. They said Jan Rogue was informing everybody the civilians shouldn't give you a problem, but if they do, you have no choice.
Right.
So they get to the planet and they land and they see. Actually, they land in water.
Yeah, they land in water. I think they basically
Drop in.
The
whole ship goes
kind
underneath
of
water.
Call of Duty steez into the water,
Yeah.
and they pop out with their suits on. But before that, I think he mentioned. Jan Rogue mentioned something about how the Skrull are shapeshifters and they're really
Yes.
good at it.
Yes.
So stay frosty kind of thing because they know what the people look like. So since they know what they look like, they can change themselves into them. And what we'll find out later, which we're about to get to now.
Yeah.
So after they walk out of the water, we talked about how Skrull can shapeshift and change form.
Which, little side note, this is the first movie that introduces the Skrull. This is the first time.
Is it?
It's introducing as in seeing them.
As seen. Okay,
They have
I
been
was gonna
mentioned.
say Avengers. What was the aliens?
Those were the Chitauri.
Chitauri.
Yeah.
Right.
But there was mention of it in Guardians of the Galaxy. There was a tiny tidbit. This is the first time you're actually seeing the Skrull.
Oh, and in Guardians, Peter Quill says a Kree girl, right?
Yeah, well, the
Stabbed him in the neck
Kree
and
has
shit.
been in the MCU since Guardians.
Yeah.
It's the ones that the Skrull are the ones that we're really seeing for the first time and actually getting a description and everything. But like you said, with the shape shifting and everything,
Loki looked like Thanos, but green with elf ears.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of did.
Yeah, they got the same chin aspect ratio of weird lines and.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that. But continue. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, okay. So they try to go in, as stealthily as possible because they don't want to disrupt anything or set off quote unquote alarms for the Skrull to say, "Hey, they're fucking here. Let's get to them." So they're going in. Sniper girl, because I already forget what the name of her character was. Is it Minerva? No, it's.
Doctor with an M.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm just going to keep the Captain Marvel IMDb up. IMDb, sponsor us.
Gotta start somewhere.
I want to always say it every time I bring it up. Okay, Minerva. So I actually
Minerva.
was
Yeah, you're right.
Holy
You're
crap.
right.
First time for that. Hey, high five. So Minerva's a sniper. She looks through a scope. She scans the area. She's telling Jan Rogue and the rest of the Star Command about what she sees, who's where, and
But
things
what was
like
the
that.
problem with that?
It's the communication.
She was supposed to be the eye in the sky,
Yeah.
and the communications was staticky.
Was in and out.
So you couldn't really see or hear what she was saying.
Yeah.
You couldn't see what she was saying. Duh.
So they're approaching, I guess, said
the cave
the
that
cave
he's in.
that he's in.
Because there were a couple of those civilians that pointed to Captain Marvel. Because Captain Marvel went ahead
Yeah.
without everybody. So
Right.
she was there by herself. And it looked like a mother and a child. They were just pointing to the cave, so she walks into the cave. And they all have a code number.
Yeah.
They have their ID number.
Yeah.
And there's no real way to get it. So that's how they use it. That's how you can tell if they're a Skrull or not, but
Yeah.
at least that's what they thought.
And we'll touch on that in a little bit as well.
Of course.
That's a little bit more farther middle of the movie.
Yeah.
But basically, Captain Marvel goes ahead. People point to the cave. Arguably, maybe actual people. But then now I'm thinking about it. I think those are Skrull people.
Yeah.
Because it was...
A trap.
Yeah. I was gonna say spoiler, but I mean this whole thing is a spoiler.
Yeah. If you're still listening and haven't seen the movie, it's on you.
Yeah. This I'm sorry. Well, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Figure your life out. I'm done with this guy anyway.
Oh, and to mention, because Dr. Minerva is watching,
Yeah.
she sees a bunch of the civilians, air quotes, closing in on Jan Rogue and the rest of them. That there is another guy that's with him. I forget his name, but he goes down to try to help out. And then
wasn't it Jan Rogue?
No.
Who took lead on that, like walking towards him?
Yeah, that was Jan Rogue, but there was one of the other Star Force members was up top with Dr. Minerva. Yeah.
Right.
And he went down to
or
help.
Flanking. I said planking. Planking's like an internet meme shit that doesn't hasn't happened in like 10 years. Anyway.
But he goes down to help them out, to give them extra support.
Right.
And then they realize...
They cut back and forth a lot. So where they cut to is Star Command, what's left of them, walking to the quote-unquote civilians, the species that is in that planet. And it cuts to Captain Marvel in the cave walking around searching for things. And it cuts back and forth between that. And if I'm not mistaken, the music kind of heightens a little bit to kind of bring up the suspense because of what's going to happen and things like that. So I think, do they find out the Skrull are the people first as far as where it's filmed? Or Captain Marvel finds dude, does the code shit, ends up being a Skrull?
So what happens is, once the civilians start closing in on the Star Force, Dr. Minerva is up top trying to tell them like what's going on, and then all of a sudden the other guy that dropped down to help Jan Rogue and the rest of them come back to her and start saying, I didn't find anything. It's
just civilians.
I did find a couple dead bodies.
Right.
But then Minerva heard the same guy.
She moved her scope over a little bit. She
and saw him,
her teammate, basically
down there with Jan Rogue. So that already tells you that they're Skrull.
Yeah.
But then once she realizes, she goes to shoot him, but he hits the gun out of her hand and starts fighting him. But then a fight breaks out, and then they realize, or she winds up getting the gun and shooting him and killing the Skrull.
Right.
And then one of them down there shoots one of the civilians, and you see, once they die, they go back to their Skrull form.
Mm-hmm.
So once one of the civilians was shot, it revealed the Skrull form, and then they all noticed, and then all of a sudden it was an ambush. It was a trap. It was an all-out shooting gallery, pretty much, because there was a ton of the Skrulls there.
Right.
So they wound up attacking the Star Force, and it was just trying to hold it until Captain Marvel found the Kree spy that they were looking for, and then she eventually finds him.
Right.
He reads off the numbers to her, and then all of a sudden hits her with a stun gun, or whatever it was. Turns out...
Yeah, the agent they were looking for, to backtrack it a little bit so everyone's up to speed on where we're thinking and what we're talking about. The agent they were looking for, Virus finds it, does the code thing. Did she say it was wrong, or...
No, it was right. It was right, and that was the problem.
And that was the issue.
Yeah, because it was right. And then I think she turned around or something like that, because then she heard Jan Rogue scream Skrulls, and then he hits her.
Then he hits her with the stun gun.
Yeah, and then she fights him back a little bit, but then it winds up, they knock her out.
Right, so they're... Okay. Context. They're fighting first, and then the stun happens.
Yes, because Jan Rogue screams into the cave and says, Skrulls, like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
So... that all happens. I guess they fight off the Skrull that are there, because they don't really see, like, you see the fight, but you don't see the end of it.
Right.
Because what happens, it cuts back to Captain Marvel, to Varys, and she gets stunned and then fights back a little bit, like I said, and then gets knocked out, and then all of a sudden it goes black.
Right.
So they obviously got her. They capture her.
Yeah.
And then you start getting cuts of her flashbacks, but it's not flashbacks of Kree memory. It's flashbacks of memories of her on Earth.
Right.
So you see, it introduces Maria Rambeau.
Yeah,
Monica
Maria
Rambeau.
Yeah.
No. Maria is the mother.
Yeah.
Maria Rambeau. Them going to the plains.
Yeah. It also touches on
Lawson.
Lawson.
Dr. Lawson.
Dr. Lawson or whatever.
Who is a in the flashbacks at this point
Is like their captain.
Is their captain.
Overseer.
Yeah.
Basically.
because they're getting ready for a mission in these flashbacks. So you see Dr. Lawson and Captain Marvel flying in a plane, and you hear the Skrull talking in the background.
Right.
And it's
rewind it, pause it,
rewind
go back
it,
to this
because
point.
they're manipulating her memories.
10 seconds forward, 10 seconds back, things like that.
And what's happening is they're looking for coordinates, and they're like focus in on it. So they're actually making her in the flashbacks focus in on the things they want to see.
Yeah, on certain aspects, so they could see if they could figure out
what
these coordinates for this device that they're looking for.
Yeah, so you see all that, and then what happens is, because they have to rewind, replay, she's starting to notice something's up, and she starts coming out of this little trance that they have her in, and you see she's hanging upside down with two, like, light beams going into her
like lasers
temples.
going into her temples to do the memory view thing. It's like they took her memories and projected it on 80 screens that they were looking at when they were saying fast forward, rewind, blah blah blah. And in it, in the flashbacks, outside of Dr. Lawson and the Air Force stuff and all that stuff, and Rambo and her friend Rambo and stuff like that. It also was, I think the very first one was her as a kid in a go-kart.
Yes.
And racing, and the kid that she's with, or I don't know who it is.
I think it's her brother, because I looked on the cast list and they have a character for her brother that's listed, but it's just never said. So they're all telling her, you got to go faster. Now you're driving go-karts and they're about to hit a curve.
Yeah.
Obviously
so
you're not. Obviously you're not speeding up through a curve.
Right.
So he tells her that. She winds up crashing. Her dad, you see what would be her dad.
Yeah.
Goes, what are you doing? You shouldn't be out here. And you see she's all bloody and crying and everything.
And then it ticks to her in, I guess the academy. Would that be for the Air Force, or is that boot camp?
Well, it's boot camp for all of them.
Right. So it was boot camp. Her on the ropes. You could hear the people under her that I guess were in the same Air Force class, like, you're too weak, you're not going to make it, blah, blah, blah.
You're going to kill yourself,
yeah,
stuff
she does
like
the
that.
jump, she ends up missing that.
She got to the second one, and then I think fell a little bit, and then went for the third one, missed, and then fell and hit the ground. Yeah. Essentially, like, those little flashbacks were of people telling her, you're not good enough, you can't, like, you're not supposed to be here, stuff like that. And every time it's her getting up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
always
showing
the power of her.
Yeah, the perseverance.
And her self-esteem.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. Also, we didn't mention this. Kind of cool. I don't know if it was planned this way. I would imagine it was, but I think when the movie came out, it was International Women's Day.
I have to imagine they did that on purpose.
Yeah, I think that was...
Because I agree.
Move.
Yeah. And, hey...
So it's cool. I mean,
without a doubt.
It's empowering. It's the first, like, major...
It's the first
woman role. Superhero, right.
Female role. First main
female
words. It's the first main female role for a movie.
Yeah.
Besides you have Scarlet Witch, Black Widow,
who
are major characters, but they haven't had their own movie.
And then fast forward, you got Shuri and...
Oh, yeah.
The fighting force in Wakanda.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name right now for whatever reason.
So am I.
The Midoriya? No, that's My Hero Academia. I'm an idiot. Something with that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We're coming back.
Yeah. First one to actually have her own movie.
She's the star character in her own movie.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened before.
Right, which is really cool. So it was cool to see that. And... Of course, it introduces one of the most powerful characters in the MCU.
Right.
In Marvel, not just the MCU.
And they've gone on record about that, too.
Yeah.
No.
So, then you see... So, getting back to where we left off, you see... she's coming to.
Yeah.
You can see she's kind of fighting it, and they're struggling, trying to get her to focus on what they want to see.
Right.
And then she opens her eyes and sees all the lab that she's in. She's in the Skrull laboratory. And she sees the screens with all of her memories on them and things like that. And then one of them, I think it was almost like the old-time TVs when you lost the signal, the screen went blank. Yeah, and then you tap on it.
Tapped on her head. It was like, sorry, headphone listeners, but it was
just like tapping to try to get it.
And then main Skrull, what's his name?
Talos.
Talos was like, what did you just do? And then he was like, do it again.
Do it again. It worked.
So then he was like...
And at this point, the Skrull is tapping on Captain Marvel's forehead.
Yeah. Like you're smacking the side of a tube TV that we all had.
And then she winds up coming to and winds up breaking out of it.
Yeah.
Because does she headbutt him or does she break the hand free first and then hit him?
She breaks... So she's in restraints.
Yeah, she's hanging upside down.
Her hands are in gauntlets. She's hanging upside down. She's got the lasers, or whatever they are, going into her brain to do the memory thing. And I think when she wakes up and comes to, she breaks one hand out with the gauntlet, smacks the guy that was like tapping on her forehead.
Yeah.
And then she does the other thing, and then she tries to do a photon blast, but because of the casting on it,
because she didn't...
of the gauntlet, she wasn't able to.
Yeah, because she didn't... Once she broke out, she got free, but she didn't completely get the gauntlets off of her hands.
Yeah, she was... That whole scene, she had them on her hands until towards the end.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is just her fighting, trying to get out of it, and obviously she's in a Skrull base, so the Skrull are just coming left and right.
Yeah.
And she winds up fighting her way out of it, and then... It gets to one point, like, it's just a lot of fighting, and then she gets to one point where she's kind of, like, getting a breather, and then all of a sudden she goes to one door, and then the door opens, and these Skrull are small.
Yeah.
Like, most of the Skrull are small. But then all of a sudden, you see the
middle
big
linebacker of the Skrull army.
If he had a nickname, it would be Tiny, and the only reason why is because it's the total opposite. Like, he's not tiny.
This guy is tiny, you know? He's big, but he's tiny.
Yeah, we call him Tiny. He's like 7 foot tall, like 340, and, you know, he's going to come out and just beat everybody up.
And thank you for listening to myself and Anthony's impressions of Italian mobsters. His was obviously a little bit better than mine, but you know, the pizza and forget about it. No,
forget about it. But she hits him in the face. Obviously, doesn't work.
He eats the shit. Bah.
Yeah, hits him in the stomach.
Bah. What up?
Kind of flinches a little bit. Doesn't do anything. She tries doing the photons. Doesn't do anything. But then all of a sudden, like, they actually start fighting, and then she really, like, heats up, and you see, like, you know, when metal gets hot, it turns orange. Like, you see the gauntlets heating up, and it's getting brighter orange, brighter, and then all of a sudden they break. And she just blasts the crap out of them.
Photon blast.
But then she hits the crack. Or she hits the wall.
She hits the wall.
Everything starts cracking, and then... Boom! Hole in the wall.
She turns around and looks at him, and she's like, I would imagine if I was in that situation and I didn't see what was going on behind me, I'd be like, why are these guys just standing there?
Yeah.
What the hell? She kind of had that kind of look on her face.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you keep going?
And then they started running. The crack opened up. She did all that. Everyone that was in that room, because was she in the lab or was she in a different section?
She was in a different room.
So she was in a different room of the ship. Crack open. Tiny goes. Other Skrull goes.
Because it blasted a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So it was the outer rim.
Yeah, the vacuum, the space.
It opened right up into space.
Yeah.
It's not like she blasted a door open, she blasted the wall open.
Yeah. And she's, she do this, the struggle of it all.
Yeah.
She grabs onto something. I don't remember exactly what it was.
It was just like a metal bar.
Yeah, it was like a metal bar that was attached to a machine they were using or something like that. And then she's like, oh, well, since I'm out of these gauntlets, she does a photon blast and she shoots forward.
And propels her forward to a door that's opening and closing.
Yeah.
And then it opens and she gets right through.
Right.
But this happened before this. Did you take notice one of the points where it was the fight scene? And this is where the comedy comes into play. The Skrull are just like... Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And then and she does it right back. She's like... Blah!
And like, I think it freaks him out for a second too.
Because she just looked at him. She goes, "Ah!" Like freaking out. I started dying. I thought that was hilarious. I wasn't expecting that at all.
No, that was good.
But that was before. It was in the fighting, but it was like the beginning of the fighting. I forgot to say it. But she goes out. She winds up getting back, and she goes to the lab where they had her to get her boots because she's running around barefoot. And then Talos comes in.
No, not yet. She gets her boots first.
Darn it.
And then Talos comes in. So it was like a little bit they did within the movie that kind of harks back to the little bit of comedy. So she's fighting, blah, blah, blah. She shoots the photon blasts. She gets it to safety, blah, 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 walks around, gets back into the lab. Two scientists are like working, and then they see her, and then they put their hands up like, "I'm good. Please don't kill me."
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like,
that's right.
Like, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. So I think she shatters the screen with a photon blast.
Yeah.
And then she grabs her boots, throws them on, and then she's like, I think she overhears Talos saying, "Get to the escape pods" or something along those lines.
No, because Talos talks to her.
Oh, okay. So I guess he talks to her first.
And I forget what he says, but it's just pretty much like, look, I just want to talk or something like that. But then all of a sudden she wasn't having it. Yeah. Like, it wasn't a long conversation. It was just him trying to get her to just, all we want are the coordinates or whatever.
Right.
And then she winds up like hitting him, and then it goes to the escape pods because the whole ship is, because of that it's slowly
disintegrating
breaking
and going into space.
Yeah. So she sees one Skrull get into an escape pod, and then she sees another one, and then she just like throws him out.
Yeah.
And then she's starting to. She's
hitting gears. She's flicking switches.
And
she's turning hyperdrive on,
and then Talos comes in and boom, blasts the inside of it a little bit and kind of breaks up the
machining,
the machined operations and everything like that. But then she winds up getting out and escaping.
Yeah.
And then this is all happening in Earth's atmosphere, or Earth's orbit.
Yeah.
So she winds up crashing on Earth.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. And the best part, so she gets out of the escape pod, and she gets into Earth's orbit.
Yeah, she crash lands.
And it's like C-14.
C-54.
C-54, yeah, that's what they call Earth. And obviously, like, because of the damage that was done to the escape pod, she winds up, because the atmosphere like starts breaking it up, she winds up falling out, but she's like holding on. So she's spinning with the ship while holding on, and then all of a sudden flies off. She gets flung pretty much.
Yeah. And
then she crashes and falls. And you're in 1995, planet Earth. What does she crash into?
It was a 90s kid freaking staple, bro. It was a GD blockbuster.
Talk about the nostalgia.
It really was oh no shit, this is really the 90s. Like,
because it's 2019. As of 2019, there is one blockbuster still remaining. And I think it's in Alaska.
No, it's in Oregon.
It's in Oregon. I was wrong.
I read an article about it. And another tangent, but this will be a quick one. Apparently the lady that manages it and operates it, she'll buy movies from Walmart to rent them out. Whether that be DVDs or videos that she's able to get for cheap, and she'll
rent them out. Spend money to make money.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last blockbuster, in the world. So, so then she's walking around. She doesn't know exactly where she's at. She picks up a couple movies. I'm trying to remember what the movies are because I'm sure it's like a hidden Easter egg. Yeah. I didn't notice. She picked up some videotape.
I forget because I was looking at it. I was doing the same thing. I was looking at it to make sure. But then I don't remember. So then all of a sudden because you know how Blockbusters, like when you go to a movie theater, they have cardboard cutouts. Well, there was a cardboard cutout of a guy and a girl, and she thinks it's she thinks it's somebody, and just being on like that antsy roll, she just photon blasts, totally destroys the window that it's in front of and the cardboard cutout, and then. Because I think
Then she walks to the security guard that was in that car.
Right, because I think I think her communications got damaged.
Yeah, her communicator was damaged because she goes to the security guard. She talks about what coordinates I'm at or like what planet, something like that. security guard speeches because he just sees some random woman walking towards him that just shot a hole with her hands.
And crashed from the sky.
And crashed from the sky. So he's speechless, and then she says, like something along the lines of like, "Are you this?" Like, I guess she either reads the. Oh, initially she's talking. He's not answering because he's shell shocked. She's like, "Is my communicator like malfunctioning?" Because she has like a thing that translates her into
to
whatever
different
area
languages.
she's in.
Yeah, that's right.
So then she asks him something along the lines of like, "Are you the head of this area?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, like
the movie has
the
their
movie
own
has their
security
own
guy."
security guy." And then she asks about, "Do you have a communicator?" And then he points over to another '90s thing, a freaking
Radio Shack.
Radio Shack.
Oh my
And
gosh.
at the Radio Shack, it was a phone booth.
Yeah.
What? I don't even think phone booths exist anymore.
There are pay phones, but it's like you gotta really look for them.
Yeah.
I remember I went to Florida one time and they had them. Like you speaking of Disney, they had them in the parks,
No crap.
and
No
I
way.
saw it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a payphone." It
So-
was crazy. But she winds up hacking the payphone to
Yeah, she puts like
broadcast the
some
system.
chip thing, I guess that was in her communicator.
She also used the
wires
Game
it-
Boy.
Yeah,
She used the Game
wires
Boy
it-
Color.
Yeah, she wires it to the payphone as far as the chip and the Game Boy and things like that, and then she's able to open up communications with. Why am I blanking on Jude Law's character's name?
Jan Rogue.
Thank you.
That's why there's two of us.
Yeah. So she starts communicating with Jan Rogue. He's talking to her. The signal's pretty strong for a little bit, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
And then all of a sudden you get the dial tone.
Yeah, and then he gets the dial tone that you need to add more money in to continue this long distance phone call, which is hilarious because it's like longer than long distance.
Yeah, like
you
that-
would imagine long distance is just like another state, but
That
it's literally-
telephone doesn't know how long this long distance is.
Right. So she tells them the situation because I think Skrull are there as well. Did they?
Yeah.
They followed her, right?
Yeah.
To try to achieve complete mission, and she tells them the whole situation, and Jan Rogue is like, "Listen, like, he talks to one of the Star Command people.
Korath.
He talks to Korath and says how long till the jump that they can make to go from point A to Earth where she's at. He's like 22 hours or something. So
Yeah.
he's like, Jan Rogue is instantly like, all right, stay put. Like, we're coming in a while. Make sure your beacon's on so we know where you're at. This, that, and the third. She's not with it.
Yeah, because she really wants to get the Skrulls. Because she knows why they're there.
Yeah.
Because the coordinates are for a place on Earth, in the Earth area,
Yeah.
and she wants to stop them before they get to what they got to get to.
Yeah, so then the dial tone happens saying you need to put more money in for this long distance phone call. Communications go, so then she is in the process of being like, are you there? Are you there?
Right.
And then Nick Fury, young Nick Fury, who pretty much looks like normal Sam Jackson just with hair.
Just with hair.
So I think they just gave him like a little mini afro.
And two good eyes.
And two good eyes. Oh, we'll get to the eyes in a second. That's a bone I would like to pick with the movie.
Yes.
Anyway, so...
But that'll be towards the end. 'Cause we
Yeah,
don't
that's
find that out
definitely towards the end. So Fury knocks on the glass, starts questioning her in ways. She's super upfront with him about what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because does she ask for who he is, like identification?
Like, so
He
asked
asked
her
for
first.
yeah.
Because it's the next day now, and she's still there.
Yeah.
So he asks her for her identification, and she tells him,
No, it's not the next day yet because it was still in the phone booth. Then he knocked on the phone.
right, but she crashed at night. And then when
Okay.
when
all right.
Nick Fury gets there, it's during the day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just brain farts and things of that nature.
Nah, it's all right. But he asks her for her identification, and then she tells him, "We don't carry it just in case we get captured or something like that."
We don't carry little pieces of paper with our identification on it, is what she said.
Yeah, pretty much. And then because Sam, I keep saying Sam Jackson, which I mean, I'm technically not wrong.
Yeah,
but
you're not wrong.
Nick Fury
Yeah.
shows her his badge
Yeah.
to let her know who she is.
And then she says, we don't carry our photos and identification on little pieces of paper.
Yeah. And to think about it, like you said, like she just starts telling them why she's there and everything like that. Really, I can't imagine she knows that. Obviously, she doesn't. But
does she do
that? They don't know what this is.
Right.
Like they don't have the
definitely
intel.
Don't. Right. But does she do? I'm blanking for whatever reason. But does she do the? How do I make sure you're not a scroll thing to
not
Nick
yet.
Fury? Not yet. Right?
Not yet.
Okay.
Because they start talking about it. She describes, and who else is with Nick Fury?
Boy, Agent Coulson.
Phil Coulson making his return in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Last time we saw him in the movies,
he did.
He died. Loki killed him.
Damn you,
trickster.
Loki.
But now, because you're in a flashback, this is first day on the job. Phil Coulson.
Yeah. But side note, do you think Loki's dead?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right, we'll continue.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
because I'm not sure about it, but that's another story for another day and another conversation. Yeah. But, okay, continue.
So, it's him and Phil Coulson. It's Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, and Captain Marvel. Yeah. So she's describing all of what's going on, the Skrull and this and that, and then all of a sudden they get shot at.
Yeah. So before that, I think they cut from him knocking and asking who she is to the beach where the Skrull land.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
you see
that's
them
true.
Transform into the surfer people with a couple of the dudes had a bodysuit on still, so like super weird.
Yeah.
But I think Talos is like, I already have this one taken or something to one of the people that came with him because they both mimicked the same person.
Yeah, because there was 3 Skrull that landed and there were 3 people that met up and then it's 2 are the same and he goes, yo, I already got this one.
Yeah.
So, change. But
so that guy...
And then it comes back to...
Yeah, the sniper shot.
Yeah, the sniper shot.
Yeah, and then she, bow, photon blast, and Nick Fury's like, what's going on?
And then she just starts running and chasing him because she missed, and he starts running. And then Coulson and Nick Fury get in the car, and the very first question that Nick Fury asks Coulson was, did you see a weapon? And Coulson goes, no, I did not, sir.
Yeah.
So it was obviously like they're starting to see like
maybe this
she's
weird
not that crazy.
The truth,
yeah.
Right?
So she's chasing him, and then they're on rooftops, and she's going after him, and you see Fury and Coulson driving behind them, following them, trying to get there. And then it works to them getting on top of a train.
Yeah. Not yet. They run. She tries to take shortcuts. She does make the shortcut, and it cuts down on time. But they got to a train stop first. Skrull person walks into the train before she's able to get there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So then that's when... So he's walking in the train car.
And
then she flips on top of the train car. And then I think she walks a little bit, then drops in.
Right. She goes through the top of the train.
And then that's when like she's walking through the train, and this is where the god Stan Lee's cameo comes in.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's sitting there reading the Mallrats script, which is super cool because I'm not the biggest fanboy of Kevin Smith, but I know who he is. I know what movies he did.
Yeah.
And it was cool because previous to seeing Captain Marvel, they had an episode on his podcast that I would recommend listening to if you have the time. But he does an episode basically that's like remembering Stan Lee. Yeah. And he talks about the process of him getting the 1 or 2 lines on Mallrats to talk to. I think he was going to talk to Brody, one of the guys, about it.
Yeah,
so he's reading. So Stan Lee's sitting on the train reading off the script,
and he's reading the script out loud, so you hear what he's saying.
Yeah,
that was
super cool.
Well, because he's got one more cameo left.
Yeah,
or I'm pretty sure they filmed a couple ahead. Yeah. I don't know how far that goes, but I definitely I'm pretty sure he has a cameo in Endgame.
Yeah, I think he has a cameo in Endgame, and then maybe one other one.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. I forget how far into cameos. Because I know they did a lot back-to-back towards the end of his life, because they knew he's getting older, he's getting kind of sickly, and things like that, so they wanted to get it in as much as they could.
Right.
So, that's the cameo. It was funny seeing the Mallrats card emblazed on the front of the script.
That was pretty cool.
So Kevin
And-
Smith in the MCU confirmed.
Yeah.
So she walks past Stanley. She keeps walking. She's looking at different people and things like that. But previous to that, I think it cuts to the Skrull walking through the train as the surfer guy, and then he sees the old lady, and then he morphs into the old lady and goes to a different car.
He sees the old lady before he gets on the train.
Oh, okay.
And then turns into the old lady.
Because she was leaving?
Because she was leaving the train, yeah.
Okay. So he's already old lady, so he sits down, takes his place.
And she looks at him. She looks at the old lady, and the old lady just looks up at her and smiles. And then all of a sudden, you see Captain Marvel just cock back and just hook this old lady in the face. And she just looks up at her like, did you really just hit me?
She just ate that shit.
Yeah, now to the naked eye, like the regular human eye that has no idea what's going on, this young girl just hit an old lady.
This old woman.
Yeah, and she just ate it, but then all of a sudden she starts like doing acrobatic jumps and stuff, and they start fighting
in
on
a
the
laser
train.
tag suit.
Yeah, but
We
then
didn't mention that. That was funny. He was like, you fit the description of a weird lady, a crazy lady chick crash landed into a blockbuster from the sky in a laser tag.
Oh yeah, that's right. I
Which
forgot
is
about
cool.
that.
So then they're fighting. It's a fight scene in the train now, and as they're fighting, the people that are on the train are still like they don't know any better. They're
Right.
like they're beating up. She's beating up this old lady. Like so they're trying to restrain her. She throws them off, and then she keeps fighting them. Then they finally manage to restrain them, and then she walks down, and then she changes into another guy.
That she saw on the train. That's where
that's
she
the
saw the
Skrull
guy
change,
on
yeah.
the train. Yeah, because then the guy is in between. Like she's in between both cars, and you see she changes into the guy that's on the car, and the guy that's on the car just looks up and is like,
he sees himself, so
like,
it's freaking
like he's
him out.
going crazy.
Yeah.
But then you see him jump up on top of the train, and then
Yeah.
she goes on top,
Yeah.
and then the fight is now on top of the train.
Right.
And this entire time, you have Fury and Coulson following the train in the car underneath.
Yeah, chasing him.
Yeah. And then they start fighting on the train, and it gets to a point like they're throwing a couple shots here and there, and then they take Captain Marvel uses her photon blast and shoots at the guy as they're getting under a bridge, but they're hitting an overpass, and there's no way you're going to be able to fit in between the top of the
And
concrete
the top of the
and the
train.
top of the train. So she winds up, because he gets down, she winds up going into the train again.
Right.
But then at that point, he winds up getting off the train, and she loses the Skrull.
Right.
Then it cuts back to Fury and Coulson, and Fury gets a call on his walkie-talkie, and he goes, "Sir, this is Agent Coulson. You left me at the Blockbuster."
What's happening?
And Fury's like, "What's going on?" And then all of a sudden, he looks at Coulson, who he thinks is Coulson in the car the entire time, winds up being a Skrull, and he attacks Fury. And this is all while he's driving, and then they get into a car accident because I think they hit a bus or a truck.
It was a bus. So what Fury did is they're fighting. He sees the bus coming in the opposite lane, so he spins the steering wheel so it basically fishtails the car on the passenger side to hit into the bus. And I think at that point, Skrull gets knocked out of said bus. Or hits the bus, and then does he get knocked out of the car?
No,
or they start rolling, right?
The car starts rolling, and then it lands, and Fury gets out.
That's when I thought he lost his eye.
Yeah, so did I.
I was like, oh, dude, this is how he lost his eye?
Yeah, and then you see the Skrull dead in the seat, and
Yeah.
you know he's dead because he turns back to his regular form.
Right.
And then Fury covers him, and then people must be watching, so he takes his badge out and goes, "This is official S.H.I.E.L.D. business." And then, boom, flashes the metal.
Yeah. So
that was all that.
train of thought. Wow. Weird. For the listeners at home, I'm just like shaking my head because of how much I blanked. But so after that, does she kills the Skrull she was chasing, right?
No, she lost the Skrull.
Oh, she lost it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they go to, I think they somehow managed to get in the same area, and then does Nick Fury walk to her? Or?
So now, because I actually, when you were trying to remember, I was trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I remember what happened. So she winds up going to a bar. Or no, I'm sorry. She goes to a little strip mall.
Yeah.
And she's standing there trying to figure out where she's at. And all of a sudden you see this douche on a motorcycle pull up and it's like like revving his engine.
He's like, hey baby, how about a smile?
Yeah, how about a smile, and then does all this, and I think does he call her a bitch?
He does, like under his breath.
Yeah, like he calls her something. I don't know exactly what it was.
But he's like, hey baby, like first thing he says is like something along the lines of, hey, move that newspaper out of your face.
Yeah, and then she just like
she
takes her finger and then folds the corner and just peers over with one eye and then lets it go again and just starts reading it, and then he goes, how about a smile?
How about a smile? And then he gets off and walks into
and puts his helmet on top of the motorcycle and walks into the store.
Was it a store or a bar?
I thought no, it was a store.
The bar was later.
The bar was later, yeah. So she takes the, because then it pans to a mannequin.
Yeah, it's like a strip. It's like a little strip mall that you would see in suburban New Jersey in these random ass places.
So then you see a bunch of mannequins with clothes on them, and then you see one naked mannequin, and she puts the clothes on and then gets on the bike and takes off.
Yeah.
Which from there she starts riding, but then it cuts to SHIELD headquarters.
Was it SHIELD headquarters?
Yeah, because Fury
he's doing the autopsy.
Is doing the autopsy with his boss, and the IT guy from the office is the doctor performing the autopsy, which was great. I thought that was hilarious. Because I think I leaned over to Paul and I was like, it's the IT guy from the office.
Yeah.
But they're looking at it, and it's because he said humans are carbon-based life forms, and I forget what he said this one was.
He said whatever this is, he's not human.
Oh, okay.
I think something along those lines. I don't think he identified exactly what he was. But this Skrull is like dead on a table with his chest open and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Fury does... What happens?
It's Fury and his boss, and they're
boss,
talking.
And they start talking.
And he's like, I think Fury goes, let me try to get her in, and then if not, then we'll go to bigger measures. And he goes, all right, go get her. So he leaves, and then the doctor is on the other side of the room, the surgeon performing the autopsy.
Doing something.
And then all of a sudden, the boss leans down to the Skrull's head and says, rest easy, brother, or something like that. Pretty much telling you, this guy's a Skrull.
This isn't his boss.
That's not his boss, it's a Skrull. So, Fury, she winds up, then it cuts, and Captain Marvel goes to a bar. Now, when she walks into the bar, she's starting to get glimpses of her in that bar.
Right. How does she get to the bar in the first place?
The motorcycle.
No, like not physically. Like, how did she know to go to the bar? It was in her like memory screen thing, right? In the ship?
I think she just pulled up to it.
Okay.
I don't know. I think.
Yeah, we definitely have to watch it again.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure what they did was she was on the motorcycle and then went to the bar, and then it just by coincidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then she started getting glimpses of the bar and stuff she's done in the bar.
Stuff she's done with Miss Rambo.
Yeah, and it's completely empty. And then the worker goes, "Can I help you?" And she kind of looks at him. And then Nick Fury starts talking behind the bar. And then the guy walks out. And then the two of them sit down and are having a conversation, and he's trying to figure out more.
He's like, grunge is a nice look for you.
Yeah.
In the beginning, because she's in like, her outfit is now, for lack of a better term, it's grunge.
Yeah.
She had like a 9-inch nails shirt on. She had a leather jacket.
That's what it was.
Yep, dude. I saw it, and I'm like, I don't listen to them, but I know that logo. I was like, in my mind, in my brain, I was like, yo, shout out to the 9-inch nails. That's pretty cool.
So she's wearing a white shirt, and it's just got a little gray border and NIN. And I knew the logo, and I'm trying to think the entire time what it was.
When he said,
and I listened to that music. I listened to that music, and I should have known that.
Yeah. When he said
it was 9-inch nails.
Because I wasn't sure in the beginning, and then when Nick Fury said grunge is a good look on you, I'm like,
Nine Inch Nails.
100%.
Oh, man. So she's wearing a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt. She's got a brown leather jacket on and then pants.
Yeah.
Some jeans. But they start talking, and she's explaining to Fury what the Skrull are, what they're doing, and she goes, how do I know you're not a Skrull? And I said, what would a Skrull do? And she starts asking him very personal questions, because apparently when a Skrull takes over or mimics you,
somebody,
they only get recent memories from you.
Yeah.
So if there's something way farther back that they didn't know about, you ask them, and they're never going to know.
I think it seemed like the cutoff was like maybe a year plus they couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But everything within a year that they would be able to remember, because it's also, you got to imagine, it's just enough for their disguise to work. Basically.
Yeah, because they have to scan, they essentially scan the person, and when they do that scan, I guess that's when they get the memories for how far. Well, she starts asking him a bunch of random questions from years ago, and then he passes, because honestly I'm blanking on what she asked him and what his answers were. One of them was kind of funny though, but I forget. But then he asks her, how do I know you're not a Skrull? And then all of a sudden she takes her photon blast and boom, destroys the jukebox. And he goes, what is that supposed to tell me? She goes, Skrull can't do that. And he goes, I'm just supposed to believe you?
Yeah, I'm supposed to take your word for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she starts telling Fury about Dr. Lawson and the coordinates, Pegasus.
Yeah.
Because
Pegasus is the secret
that's
base.
I think that's the mission.
The operations of
operation
of S.H.I.E.L.D. or operations in the military that she was a part of when she was on Earth.
Yeah, so Fury knows what that is, and they go to the base.
Yeah.
And then they have to give him he gives them at the gate his ID badge and everything like that, so they let him in. And then what happens? They get a welcoming committee, air quotes on that one, and they ask, what can we help you with? And they ask for Dr. Lawson.
Mm-hmm.
So then they put him in a holding cell. And they're trying to figure it out. And
so, important detail for what's about to come up. The lieutenant or the sergeant or whoever greeted them with the armed guards behind him ended up taking his badge and looking at it, because I guess Nick Fury showed him.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of goes into what happens next when they're in the holding cell.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Varys, because she doesn't know her name is Brie Larson quite yet.
No, she doesn't know her name is Carol Danvers.
Oh wow. I would assume the actor knows her name is Brie Larson. But, so she doesn't know her name is Carol Danvers quite yet. So, she's still known as Varys, so he's asking her questions and stuff like that. And then, I don't know exactly what happened, but I know he took a piece of Scotch tape, cut it off, put it where the guard, sergeant, lieutenant,
was holding the ID
was holding badge, got his thumbprint, used that to unlock the door.
Yeah, well, before they did that, I had it in my head, and I forget. All right, just keep going, because I'll remember it.
So, we do a lot of tangents,
yes,
so it's all good. So, that happens. They start walking through the...
Oh, I remember. I'm sorry.
I
just remembered real quick. So, before he did the whole thumbprint and getting it on the scanner, Fury took his beeper and sent out a message to base.
Yeah.
To let them know we're being detained here, gave them the coordinates and everything like that. Oh, I know. One of the questions that now I'm doing it. One of the questions that Captain Marvel asked Fury was, "What's your name?" And he said Nicholas Joseph Fury or something like that, whatever his middle name is.
That was in the car.
Right.
On the ride there.
But they said, what do you rather prefer? And he said, people call me Fury. Not Nick, not Nicholas, Fury.
Right.
So that's...
Then he was like, and she was like, what does your mom call you? He's like, Fury. He's like, what do your siblings call you? He's like, Fury.
What do your kids call you? If I had them, Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thumbprint thing happens.
Then they get out.
Sam Jackson shit. And then they get out. They're walking through the hallway to this giant filing room.
To get to the records.
Yeah. And they get to another locked door. He's about to pull the tape out to do the thumb trick again. She looks at him and then just shoots the photon blast at the door. Then it puts a gaping hole in it, so then she just unlocks it. He's like, are you telling me the whole time I was doing this thing with the tape, you could have just did that in the beginning? She's like, yeah, I didn't want to overshadow you or something like that. So that was super cool. So then they go to, they find
the Pegasus files.
They find the Pegasus files, and they also find the scientists' files and stuff like that.
Because she was working on a quantum, I think it was like quantum speed engine.
Yeah.
It would be able to get
time travel.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the missing piece in time travel that people would be looking for. So they find this, and then I guess does Fury get a beeper? It gets a page.
Yeah, Fury gets a page,
beeper,
and then he walks away.
And then I guess he goes to meet them. And his boss is there, aka Skrull Dude.
And then they get into the elevator.
Yeah. They get into the elevator, and then he asks him a couple questions, because now he's like, all right, now the threat can shape shift and change and things like that. So he's asking him questions about, like, Vietnam or...
Well, the reason why he asked him those questions...
To find out if he was...
Well, it was because they were like... When they got into the elevator, the boss asked Fury, he was like, yeah, are you ready, Nick? He called him Nick.
Yeah.
And Fury looked at him like... Why'd you just call me Nick?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then that's when he
brought up. He was like, yeah, remember, just like we did in Botan or Vietnam or something like that. And he goes, yeah, just like that. So that's how he knew he was fake.
Yeah, because he paused for a second and then just agreed with him. So then it was like, all right, now I know he's fake. So
then he was getting off on floor 6. He's like, how about you get off on floor 6, I'll get off on 5, and we'll cut him off. He wanted to get out of the elevator as quick as possible because he knew that was a Skrull. Yeah, and he was all trying. He was in floor 5 that he was going on was where Captain Marvel was at in the filing room, wasn't it? The room with the files was and that's
5,
why he sent him to 6.
That's why he sent them to 6, so they had a little bit of time to do that. Oh, we forgot a character in the movie. They meet Goose.
Oh, yeah. They meet Goose right before they get to the records room.
Right until they get to the records room.
Little cat.
Yeah.
And Fury goes all
like
goo-goo eye.
Yeah, goo-goo gaga baby like, talking to this cat.
Like, boy, look at your little kitty.
And then Varys looks at him like, what?
Fury, let's go. Come on.
Yeah. So then he's like, I'll see you later. And then he walks away. So then, does he get to her in time, or does Talos realize what is going on?
And if I remember correctly, I think what happened was Fury started fighting the Skrull. Like, he found his boss first, before he even gets to Marvel. Mm-hmm. He found the boss found him, and they start fighting, and he's starting to beat up he's starting to beat up Fury.
Yeah.
And then he winds up getting away because I think they find Captain Marvel and...
No. What happened was...
That's not right.
He did, like, diversion tactics. Like, he took some
he
random
took a reel.
deadpan and just rolled it. Yeah. Or I guess it was
a camera
reel makes more sense.
Yeah.
So he just rolled that, and then they went the one way. Because as you're moving through this room, the lights above you are clicking on.
Yeah, they're like motion
They're
censored,
motion activated.
Which is crazy for 95.
So then he's trying to, like, basically flank to get to Captain Marvel to tell her, hey, like, these dudes are here. This, that, and the third.
And then he finds the boss.
Then he finds the boss, and then the boss says something like, something along the lines of, we trusted you, or you know where she's at, or something like that.
Yeah, and then
that's when they start fighting.
Yeah, and then he finds out, like, he tells him that he's a Skrull, and then he goes, because I think Fury hit him, and then
he said
he loses glasses, and he's like, you know, I don't need these, but they do fit the character, or they do complete the character, and he puts them on, and then I forget how he gets away.
Marvel photon blasts the Kree. Or the Skrull.
Does she?
I'm pretty sure.
I guess. That would only make sense. And then they wind up... Well, because then they're on the stairs running away, and Coulson has got a gun pointed to him.
And he's still under the impression that Nick Fury's trying to take them in. And then I guess they locked eyes.
And then Coulson let him go.
Yeah. He's like, this... He went to his wall. He's like, stairwell clear.
Yeah.
And then went back up, and then they continued to leave. And then... In the files, she found out about Rambo and the fact that she was a pilot friend of hers that they were both trying to get in the Air Force and things like that.
Yeah,
and was that at the point when that flashback happened again?
No, I don't think so. But they get into or maybe it did.
I think there's a flashback of her being with Rambo, like on the base, maybe.
Yeah, getting to the ship
or something along.
Or maybe it jogs her memory a little bit.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
After the first sequence with her getting the lasers in her head, she pretty much kind of knew what she had to do.
Yeah.
So
then they wind up. Coulson lets him go, and they're in the
ship, the carrier. Yeah.
Yeah. So they get to a ship, and they get in the cockpit, and Fury goes, "Do you know how to fly this?" And she goes, and then Fury goes, "That is a yes or no." And she gets it going, and she goes, "Yes." And then they fly out of there.
Yeah, because then that's when Talos is shooting at her with the guns, and so is the other guys.
And then that's when they go to Rambo.
Yeah, they're like, "How do you?" She asked him, "How would I get to New Orleans or something like that?"
Because
and he's like, "Yeah, just keep going south once you hit like Arkansas,
like Memphis or something like that." And then so then that happens.
Goose is on the plane now too.
Goose is on the plane.
Yeah.
And you see them flying straight up, and then this is where the CGI was pretty bad.
Right.
Like, this is one of the first spots I noticed. You see Goose, like, splattered on one of the boxes because she's flying straight up because they're shooting at her.
There's no G's anymore.
Yeah, and then they come back down, and then they get away. But and then they get to Rambo's house.
Yeah.
They wind up landing there. Now, Maria Rambo has a kid, Monica. And Captain Marvel, at this point, doesn't know they were good friends.
Yeah.
But she, like, pretty much grew up with them, and that was, like, Monica called her Auntie...
Yeah, Annie Carroll.
Annie Carroll. And when Maria Rambo was working on something.
I think she was on a jet that she had, or a plane that she had, something like that.
And Monica was out there, and all of a sudden she walks up, and Monica runs up and hugs her, like, "Oh my gosh!" Because at this point, it was the picture that they found where Carol was in that picture. Was from 6 years ago, and Fury said it was in 1989.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine 6 years ago. Obviously, they think she's dead. They don't know what happened to her. So Captain Marvel walks up and and Monica hugs her, but Monica kind of like steps back, like, all right, she's not having a reaction. And Maria looks at her, and then they just start talking. This was my problem, and this is what I was telling you about before we started this. I was talking to my friend about it. Maria sees her. Hasn't seen her in 6 years. Because she thinks she's dead.
Yeah.
This girl did not react at all like anybody really would in that situation.
So I have a counterpoint to that. And maybe you missed this detail when it was happening.
The conversation later on? Is that what you're going to talk about?
No, what I was going to say...
Okay.
Maybe it was later on, but I think when the initial shock like faded away, the little girl was like, "We knew you weren't dead," or something along those lines. She's like, "I need to go grab your stuff." And then that
Monica said that, or Maria said that? The mom said
the little girl.
Or the girl?
The girl.
And I get that, but it's like, you look at the mom and it's just like, nothing. Like, it was nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh yeah. Like, not like, oh yeah, like, look, you're back. But it was like, I don't know. I guess, I don't, it's kind of crazy because it's like, 6 years, you think she's dead. Like not like...
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like dropped to the ground. Like there was nothing like that. No tears, nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
think that's just for the sake of the movie.
Just something that got overlooked.
Yeah, and also just I think the fact that they said that they scripted the little girl to say, "We knew you weren't dead," or something along those lines. They're like, that would explain why, the shock is in there. Also, the kids, I would imagine the innocence of children and things like that comes into play.
Yeah.
But the little girl runs off, and then she talks to Rambo.
Because then Fury's right behind him.
Yeah. And then they start talking, and Carol starts explaining everything, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's like, she wants to know where's Lawson and why, what's going on, who is she, this type of stuff. And she starts explaining to her, you and Lawson went on a mission, and the plane crashed.
Right.
And Lawson died, which they found out about in the records, now that I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Fury said Lawson died. And
yeah, I think when she ended up linking back up with Rambo, it was more or less like, who was she? What did she do?
What was she
not
doing?
More,
Why were you?
Not like, where is she at? And how is she doing?
Yeah, exactly. And then they're all talking, and they're inside, and I think, did she show them the pictures yet?
I think when they were inside talking, she showed them the pictures. Because that's the part I remember when the little girl was like, the little girl was like, said something about, oh yeah, I was wearing your jacket and I got a ketchup stain, but we tried to get it out.
Yeah. But then they get a knock at the door. Now, this is why I'm trying to remember, was this before she showed him the pictures or after? I can't remember. She gets a knock at the door, and it's her neighbor, and Captain Marvel answers it, and she thinks it's a Skrull.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, like, pretty much, you're a Skrull or whatever, and Maria goes, I'm sorry, I'll get to it later, because they asked to see the spaceship that was in the, obviously.
that was in the way.
That was in the yard.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'll talk to you later, like, this is an old friend, this and that. So they shut the door and turn around, and all of a sudden, Talos is there.
Was it immediately after?
It was immediately after. Because they thought he was a Skrull. They thought the neighbor was a Skrull. Here, the Skrull is behind him watching the whole thing happen.
The daughter never came back.
Because the daughter was outside.
Stuff, because she went outside.
Yeah, and then they look outside, and she goes, "Don't shoot me." And they show the daughter outside with the mom. Now, obviously, that's not the real mother, because the mother is inside. Maria's inside. And
then that's when Talos is like, "Don't worry, we're not going to hurt the little girl."
Yeah, we have no intentions of doing that. He's like, "Just hear me out and hear what I have to say, because we have the black box."
The black box recording of what happened.
Of the ship,
right.
Of the plane that they were flying. And Maria goes, wasn't that destroyed? And that's another thing. First time this girl sees an alien, and she's just like, okay, this is cool.
It's all movie. It's movie magic, baby.
I know. But it's just something I noticed, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like, I'm sorry, 95, I see an alien, it's going to be like, whoa. Like, don't probe me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, that was just a little tidbit. But so then he's like, listen to this black box. Well, it's the entire recording of Lawson and Marvel.
Right.
And she always had, and with these flashbacks, she always had a flashback of a Skrull coming out of a wreckage and shooting Lawson. Because something we didn't even mention, the Supreme Intelligence.
Right.
The Supreme Intelligence is Kree based, and when you want to talk to them, it takes form of the person you most admire.
Mm-hmm.
And for Captain Marvel, it was always Lawson, but Marvel never knew who she was because she didn't have her memory. So she always had these flashbacks of a Skrull shooting Lawson. Well, you start listening to the recording, and it's the entire thing, like they're talking about what they have to do,
mm-hmm.
and then she's like, what I have is gonna end the wars. Like, end the wars to come, or something like along those lines. And then all of a sudden they get attacked by alien spaceships.
Right.
So Captain Marvel is maneuvering or shooting.
She was maneuvering,
and
Lawson was shooting.
And she was maneuvering, and then they wound up.
It was a dual cockpit.
Yeah,
on the ship they were in.
and then they wound up getting hit and they crash.
Yeah.
Now, she looks and finds Lawson, and Lawson's like, I gotta destroy the engine, and she gets up and is about to destroy the engine.
Before that, Lawson is bleeding blue.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. Because
Captain Marvel asks, "Why are you bleeding blue?" And then that's when she went in. I'm a Kree intelligence officer under investigation of this to try to figure it out or to destroy plans.
Trying to fix our mistakes and stuff like that.
So then that's when she found that out.
Yeah. So she goes up to destroy the engine because Captain Marvel she tells Marvel that the engine is what they're looking for.
Right.
She goes to shoot it, and then all of a sudden she gets shot and killed. Somebody kills her.
Right.
Now, this is where the flashbacks come to, where she usually sees a Skrull coming through. But here, what the recordings show, that it wasn't a Skrull that shot Lawson.
Yeah.
It was Jan Rog.
Yeah.
He was the one that destroyed it, because he was the one actually looking for
the time
the
travel engine thing.
Yeah. And he realizes, she goes to, I think Marvel goes to, because then she held a gun to Jan Rog, and then instead of shooting him, she shoots
the engine.
And when the engine explodes, all the
basically the power within
the power
the
of
engine
it gets absorbed into Captain Marvel.
Right.
And that's how she gets her powers. So then she gets blasted and gets knocked out, and then you see Dr. Minerva.
Yeah. It's Minerva.
Minerva. You see Dr. Minerva, and she's like, what do you want me to do? No. We'll take her. She has the power of the engine and everything like that. So that's how Captain Marvel becomes a Kree, air quotes.
Yeah.
That's how she gets involved with them. But she realizes now that it's all been a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've been lying to her this entire time.
Right.
So I think they stopped listening, and then Talos is telling them, like, look, all we're trying to do is find a new home.
They wanted to find that piece so they can figure out a way to go home, because that would help them travel far enough that the Kree won't find them, and then they can live on a different planet, because there's only like a group of them or something along those lines.
And the coordinates are for her laboratory.
Yeah.
Which is where he would need the information to get to that planet. Yeah. And he said, the only reason why this war happened between the Kree and the Skrull is because the Skrull wouldn't defect to the Kree's rule.
Right.
So they just pretty much went out and started killing them all.
We forgot to mention, that's when we found out Lawson was Marvel.
Oh yeah, Lawson was Marvel.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Totally forgot. Wow.
Yeah.
Just let it slip.
Yeah.
One of the like
pivotal moments of the movie.
Yeah.
It's alright. We were confused, and I was full of cheese because we ate prior. But anyway, we're running a little long, so let's just speed up the pace just a tad.
Okay.
So that happens. They figure out the coordinates are in space. And then the scientist that's with them says something along the lines of, I can rig your current ship to get into outer space to go to the coordinates. So, and then they devise a plan, because they know Jude Law's character is going to come and find them because it's the communication in their suit, and the beacon in their suit, and stuff like that. So they devise a plan. Becomes nighttime. They show a little bit of her interaction with the daughter. So they talk a little bit, and she said something along the lines of, because you're the most stylish one here, like, I can't wear these colors anymore.
Because now I know what they stand for.
Because now I know what they stand for. So then she gives her like, wrist reader, GPS computer thing. So then she messes with colors. It gives a lot of funny outfits and stuff like that. And then they couldn't figure it out. They landed on the bright, like, night glow thing. It reminded me of, like, a Naomi outfit. Yeah. Naomi is WWE superstar.
Yeah.
that's we'll get into WWE on another day because there's a pay-per-view happening tonight that we might talk about on the next podcast. But anyway, she looks at the girl's shirt. She has the Carol Danvers classic red and blue set up, the gold star in the middle. So then she's like, well, since I'm on your team now, how about we do that? And she like points to her shirt or whatever, and then she changes it, boom, red and blue.
Yeah.
So then from that point moves into the plan. So they don't show it, but I'm imagining Rambo, Talos, and Captain Marvel and Nick Fury are starting to... They're either already in the ship going into orbit or not. So I guess she gave the chip that was giving her communication and her coordinates to...
one of the scientists.
The
Skrull
scientist. And he transformed into her. And they didn't touch this, which bothered me a little bit. The education that Captain Marvel gave to the scientist, because she's like, all right, he's going to ask this, this, and this. This is the answer to that.
Yeah.
So then Jude Law comes.
They meet in a shack.
Yeah.
And he starts asking him questions and tells them, and then all of a sudden he realizes Jan-Rog asked the Skrull, Captain Marvel, a question that he didn't know the answer to, and he shot him and killed him. And then he looks at him and goes, does she know? And he says, yes, you're too late. So now he knows all that. And then after that, Jan-Rog gets on the communications with Ronan the Accuser, which was the villain from Guardians 1.
And actually, we didn't touch on this. They talked to Ronan previously in the movie as well.
And he said, don't go to Earth yet. There's Skrull there, but don't go there yet. Let us take care of it, this and that. So obviously, Jan-Rog realizes that the situation is out of control.
Right.
So he contacts Ronan and goes, all right, Ronan, there's Skrull here on Earth. They've infiltrated Earth. Come and take care of this.
They've infiltrated her as well.
Yeah. Eradicate the
she was compromised, so we have to eradicate.
So then they're going up to the ship, and they finally find Lawson's lab, which is where the coordinates were going to.
Right.
And they're like, this is it, where's it at? And then it's got a cloaking device.
Yeah.
So they get onto the ship, and then they're looking around and find one of the biggest pieces that has shown up in the most Marvel movies. The Tesseract.
Yeah, but to backtrack just a little bit, they're like, Brie Larson's like, this is where it should be at. Then she plugs in the coordinates, and I guess that's more of a password as well. So then the cloaking deactivates. They go into the ship. It's old 90s. You see troll dolls, you see pinball machines, and all this other
Fonz
stuff.
Lunchbox.
Yeah, a Fonz lunchbox. And then you see a cup of coffee that's still hot. You see the steam coming off of it. And then that's when, I think Talos said, we're not alone. And then, or no.
Fury said
we're not alone. Talos did, I guess, a Skrull call.
Yeah.
That only, I guess, he would know. So then that's when arguably his family came out of hiding.
Yeah.
And was like, we were waiting for you, and Marvel told us not to do anything regardless of what's happening as far as a distress signal.
Because essentially that lab was a safe haven.
Yeah, it was a safe haven, like base kind of thing, like they had food and all that stuff. So then they come out, Talos does the call, they come out.
And his wife and daughter.
And his wife, is it a daughter or a son?
I think he said, like at one point he was like, cover her eyes or something like that.
Okay.
I think
later when he shot somebody.
Yeah.
So, regardless, his child.
Yeah.
So his child comes out with the mom, they do the head touch thing, and then he does the head touch thing with his child. Child is like, oh, I haven't seen this guy in a while, like, I'm sure it's him. And then the mom says it's okay, he does it, and then the rest of them come out. And then, fast forward just a tad. After that happens, that's when Jan-Rog and the rest of them show up.
Get up on the ship, and then it's a fight.
Yeah, it's a fight. No, then they find the Tesseract in the Fonz lunchbox, in the Fonzie lunchbox.
They put it in the Fonz lunchbox.
Yeah, they put it in the Fonz lunchbox, and then they said this is the piece, blah blah blah. So then from that moves on to the fight. The fight happens. People get separated. That's when like the Skrull Talos is like, cover her eyes, shoots the guy because they're on the way to like an escape ship basically.
Because there was a lot of stuff. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened in between that. Because he winds up, Talos takes control of one of the Star Force people.
Okay.
One of the Star Force soldiers, and
right.
because at one point they lost and they connected.
Forgot. Right. I forgot about that part.
They were overrun because they were outnumbered, and
yeah.
then they hooked up Captain Marvel to the Supreme Intelligence cords. I don't know what they were called, but pretty much what happens is they go to see. She has them see the Supreme Intelligence, and it's Lawson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's talking to her, and then Lawson brings up the Supreme Intelligence brings up again that. We gave you these powers, we could take them away. Still thinking that she is Kree born. And Lawson, or I'm sorry, not Lawson.
Danvers.
Danvers, Captain Marvel winds up. She shocks her and disables the powers, but then overpowers it, and the machine in the back of her neck pretty much pops out. And she gets the powers.
Right.
But the Supreme Intelligence has her own blast and starts pushing her back, and then all of a sudden, like, overcomes it and then breaks out of it.
Right.
So that's...
Because Jude Law's character had her in that machine thing.
Yeah. At that point, that's where Captain Marvel harnesses her full abilities.
Yeah.
Her full control of power.
Right.
And she gets out, and then again, it's... them fighting because they put all the Skrull, the Star Force,
the
put
ship
all this.
That they came on initially.
Yeah, they put them in a holding cell,
and then they left, and then that's when Dr. Minerva got in the jet and started following them, and then that is also they kind of jumped back and forth from space to where they were at. That's when they were shooting this, that, and the third, and that's when, so Jan-Rog gets the best of Captain Marvel at a point. And I guess he leaves, and then she follows him with the suit shit and starts shooting at him and stuff. While that's happening, the dogfight between Rambo, Fury, and
Talos
with
in the
Star
ship Force.
With the Star Force. So they're fighting back and forth.
And then that's where you see Goose become... I forget the name of this species.
A Flurkin.
It's a Flurkin. Now, they're actually more, like, I'm pretty sure in the comics they're bigger, more intimidating creatures.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, this cat opens his mouth, and it's just like a bunch of friggin' tentacles that eat up all the other Star Force soldiers.
Stranger Things monster.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like a Demogorgon.
Yeah. And it eats the couple soldiers that are about to attack them.
Yeah.
And then Fury puts him down and is like, okay, and then I'm going to pick you back up. And because now he knows what he actually really is. And then Goose winds up eating the Tesseract, too.
Yeah.
Once it falls out of the... Or no, that's what happens. Danvers takes the lunchbox and Jan-Rog follows him. It was a whole diversion to get the rest of the Skrull out of there. And then Goose eats the Tesseract. That way they're never going to search that.
Right.
So they wind up going on Earth, and then Captain Marvel is really putting the fight to Jan-Rog, and then he goes, all right, fight me without the power, try to beat me. Yeah, and then all of a sudden she just shoots him, and he hits a rock, and
then she sends him back.
Yeah, but first, before that, then Ronan comes with all the different ships, and Ronan gives the order. They start
coming down,
gives the order to fire the missiles.
She's human missile running through these ships and stuff.
And she was shooting all the ships that were coming out and everything like that, and then she catches the missile and pushes it back, and it winds up turning sideways, and a couple of the missiles hit it, and it explodes everything. So she
like a chain
diverted,
reaction.
like she diverted the attack. And then she goes up and destroys one of Ronan's ships. Not the one Ronan's on, but one of his ships.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he's like, how does Earth have a defense force?
And it's like,
and then she pops out with the costume. They're like, they don't, but they have her.
Yeah.
And then they show her like with the suit and the mohawk and stuff.
And then they wind up going away.
Yeah.
So then she goes back and deals with Jan-Rog.
That's when the fight happens.
And that's when the fight happens. You're right. And then she sends
She sends
Jan
him
Rog
back to. Does he send him back to the home planet, the Kree planet?
I think the Kree
or
planet.
does she send him to Ronan?
No, I think she sends him back to the Kree planet.
Yeah, and he says something along the lines like, "They'll kill me if I don't bring anything back."
I can't go back empty-handed.
Yeah, and she's like, "You're not going back empty-handed. Give this message to Ronan."
Yeah,
and then sends him off.
I'm ending the war and all this and that, and then she sends him off, and then they're flying back in the ship, like they're heading back towards Rambo's house, and this is we're getting into Fury sitting in the chair, and Fury's holding Goose, and he's talking about this and that, and then all of a sudden, Goose swipes his eye.
I was so mad when that happened.
Me too, because
so mad.
Because then they're like, Fury's like, oh, it's just a scratch, and then Talos goes, oh no, it's not.
Yeah, and at that point, I'm like,
at all the ways.
Yeah. I'm like, what kind of bitch shit is that? Like,
yeah.
Excuse my language and description of it. But I was like, what kind of shit is this?
Yeah.
He lost his eye by getting fucking swiped at.
Yeah. But then they're flying back, and they get back to Rambo's house and drops Maria off, and then Monica, who actually is a major player later on, she actually becomes Photon.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine she's going to be a bigger player later on, which will be pretty cool to see. And then she gives the jacket, she gives Carol the jacket, and she's like, we got the ketchup stain out. And you found out, going back to the black box, you found out why they called her Vers. Because Jan Rog found half of her dog tag, and all it was VERS, which was the end of Danvers.
Wow, that's kind of blew my mind because I didn't put that together. That's pretty wild.
That's why they called her Vers. Because
that's crazy.
They found that.
He's like, this is her identification.
Yep.
Right. That's pretty cool. And then they have a cool scene at the end when they're like eating dinner or something like that, and she's like, we have to find a home for these guys, and she's like, I'll leave, but I'll be back.
Yeah. Which, and again, and this was another one of my problems with, and I know we talked about this after the movie, this was another one of my problems with the movie. Like, to me, they de-villainized the Skrull. You know what I mean? And I know, like, because unless something happens with with Endgame, or like they go back in time and it totally changes the effects of what happened. Like, I hope, because I want them to do a Secret Wars storyline.
Well, think about it. That happens pre-snap, so the snap might have taken out a lot of them.
Oh, you know what? Okay, maybe that's why. Hopefully that's it, because they're one of the major villain roles in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, what I was saying to you was the movies are obviously different than the books.
Oh, no, I understand that.
But also what I was saying was, like, it's like an extremist group within...
Yeah.
It's like extremists within a group of people. Like, just because these 5 individuals feel this certain way doesn't mean, like, the rest of them do.
But he was saying, like, we're all over just looking for a home. Like, there's more of us just looking for a home.
Right.
So I'm kind of interested to see what they do with that, and maybe Endgame is a big thing to kind of change it. Mm-hmm. But we'll see what happens. I didn't even think of the snap.
Right.
I didn't even think of the snap.
So,
maybe the snap causes them to like go into an outrage and start taking revenge because they don't know what actually happened.
So they think it's Kree related, or they think because they might know it's Thanos, so then they're like, oh, now, it's an issue, but. Before that happens, this is where things get connected a little bit. And I'm talking about before the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
Carol Danvers basically took Nick Fury's pager and upgraded it and tinkered with it to be like, only use this if it's like an emergency.
If you need me, call me.
If you need me, like, let me know. So then... He's like, all right, so then it goes to the credits, right? I'm not missing anything.
Because then because Carol puts that was before that. That was while they were in the kitchen after dinner and everything, having dinner with Talos.
Right, they were cleaning the dishes.
Yeah, they were cleaning the dishes. She gave him the beeper and said, use this only for emergencies if you really need me. And then when she was getting ready to go away, Monica gave her the jacket, and then she put the jacket on, hugged everybody, and then flew away. And then that was the end of the movie.
Right. So then we roll forward to
The mid-credit scene.
Mid-credit scene, and Nick Fury is typing up like an initiative. It was called like.
Oh no, that was the end of the movie.
That was the.
That
end
was
of
the end of the movie. Yeah.
I thought that was the mid-credit.
No. So what happens is he's typing. Well, you tell.
So he's
you can explain
typing a thing called the Protectors Initiative, and he's lining it up because now it's like there's supernatural threats that we have no idea about. So we need to find extraordinary people to help with that.
And he even said it to Coulson because Coulson comes in and brings him a bunch of eyes to pick out.
Right. Yeah, and then that's when he says, Coulson asks him about how he lost it, and that's when Nick Fury's like, yeah, I was battling this Skrull invasion, and it was like within the line of fire, I lost my eye or whatever.
Yeah.
So then that happens, and then does he talk about finding these other extraordinary people? He did say,
yeah.
In the movie, or is that the mid-credit?
No, in the movie. He's like, you've more of her, and he's like, just more super people.
Yeah.
So then he looks at the picture of Carol getting into her ship.
Yeah, get into her jet. Yeah,
into her jet.
And her name was Carol Avenger Danvers.
So then that's where the Avengers Initiative came from.
Clicks on the Protector Initiative, backspace, he deletes Protectors, types in Avengers, and then you're like, whoa!
Yeah,
holy
it is
shit,
all connected.
everything connects now.
So that's the end of the movie.
Right.
The mid-credit scene.
Now I remember. Okay.
So if you remember at the end of Infinity War, Fury and Maria Hill got out of the car, and all of a sudden it was post-snap, so everybody was disappearing. So Fury gets his beeper out and starts to page her, and then he disappears, and then it drops.
Motherfucker.
And then he disappears. And then the pager drops, and you see Captain Marvel's logo.
Yeah.
So it goes
forward
through
mid-credit
scene. You have Bruce Banner, Captain America,
Black
Widow,
and his buddy.
You have
Don Cheadle's character,
Rhodes.
Right.
So you have War Machine.
Yeah, and they're all in.
And I think was Iron Man there or no?
No.
Okay, Iron Man. Oh yeah, because he's on a different planet.
Because he's on a different planet at that point.
So they're all there, and they have the beeper set up
to some crazy shit.
So the battery doesn't die.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the icon disappears, and they go, something just happened, and they go try to boost the signal again, and Bruce goes, we don't even know what this is to. And then Black Widow turns and goes, I'm gonna go find something, and she turns, and all of a sudden Captain Marvel pops up and goes, where's Fury? And then that's the end of that credit scene.
Yeah.
So that puts her into the Avengers.
Fucking sweet, bro.
I know, I can't wait. And then the post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene was...
You're in Nick Fury's office.
Yeah, you're in Nick Fury's office. He leaves, right?
He's not even in there.
Oh, yeah. So, Goose pops up on the thing.
And then just...
And basically chokes up a hairball that's the Tesseract. And it just pops on his desk. And then it's like Avengers Endgame will
Captain Marvel will return in
Endgame. In Endgame. So
that is our review. Longest one we've had.
Yeah, we're almost hitting 2 hours,
yeah.
So it's pretty gnarly. Hopefully all the listeners stick through the whole thing, because I think we touched on a lot of cool shit.
Yeah, and we obviously missed some stuff, but
yeah.
we're definitely, if anything happens, we can always talk about it
Yeah, I
again.
think what I'm going to do is if we do a second viewing,
I'm
going to keep my phone on like low brightness and just type out some stuff that we missed.
Just like keynotes.
In like my notes or something, and then next podcast...
We could talk about it. Or...
we talk about whatever else. I'll just be like, all right, well, this happened. We can touch on to fill in the cracks that we might have missed.
All right.
So, needless to say, I'm super excited for Endgame.
Oh, I am too.
What's that? Really that's in like a month.
I think it's like April 27th.
Right. So definitely can't wait for that. That's super cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the program, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for enjoying the ride. Thank you for being in the parking lot with us.
Definitely. So again, my name is Elias, aka Eli. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ekaram32. That's EKARAM as in Mary 32 on Instagram and Twitter. my friend, would you like to?
All right, and you guys know Pepper here. I'm just mainly Instagram right now, and that's all I use for the most part. It's Pepper31, and my YouTube channel, Pep's Pokey Reveals. Don't forget to check that out.
Yeah,
too.
and don't worry, true believers, R.I.P. Stan Lee. We will be talking about Detective Pikachu hopefully in the near future.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely are excited and have things to say about that.
I can't wait for that.
And on that note, my friends, my fellow loiterers, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you keep listening. I know we're going to keep doing it.
Yep.
So you guys have a good night, day, holiday, birthday, whatever you're listening to.
We will see you all next time.
100%. See you guys, man. Have a good one.